Hello, today is Wednesday, June 12th, 2019. My name is Daniel Mullany, and behind the camera is Caitlin Yates. Today we will be filming a video source inspection for SciTech Process Solutions. We will be viewing a fully refurbished HTC 8020 box washer system. Our customers sent us this box washer from their inventory to be refurbished. It was in one of their warehouses, and we'll be shipping it back to them. They are located in Arizona. So what we'll do is we're going to take a look at first the power box on the side. We're going to walk around and show different aspects of the refurbishment in the system. We're going to do some programming, and then we're going to run a cycle. So let's take a look at the power box. So this system did not have a high voltage power box with it. That's something that we see more often than we'd like, but we can build these as brand new and interface them with the system, so that's what we did here. This has 100% new components in it. Typically the system actually has two power boxes. We integrate it all into one for better floor space configuration in the fab. So this is going to be a 208 volt three-phase system that uses 150 amps. Here you see the EMO is triggered because the switch is not being met. We're going to go ahead and close this up. And now just got to make sure that the switch is met there. There we go. And now we can power on. So when you install in the fab, you'll be closing all those tight and you won't have to deal with that EMO as I push it right there. But this guy's brand new. Now I'll be walking over here to the far side of the system. It's a little difficult to get over here because we have our blowers on the ground, but Caitlin's going to lift over so we can take a look from here. So here we have our exhaust hooked up. We don't have a full facility exhaust like a fab would, so we have to hook this up separately in order to pull enough CFM to properly operate the tool. In the fab, you're going to want 400 or 440 CFM of full draw to correctly operate the system, and that is spec'd out in the manual. Here we have the DI water heater. Touching it, it's quite hot. It's heated up to 60 C on the inside. We replaced all of this tubing. This is the pneumatic tubing for the basic component controls. It's kind of difficult to see, but there's all Bimba cylinders here for the exhaust dampener and the air knives. Those have all been replaced. And we have the surfactant motor here. It's also difficult to see, but this is going to pull surfactant into the wash reservoir prior to the system starting its run. Here we have the surfactant tank. The surfactant is not currently in here. We filled it with water because we don't have surfactant here to run with the system, and the surfactant that you use will be your fab's discretion, and it's stored in there and spiked at the beginning of each run like I talked about. Beneath the tool down here we have the air heater, and we have the exhaust ducting for pulling out the heat ducting for blowing hot air into the system. That's going to be the outside air that's HEPA filtered. So this is the exhaust ducting for pulling. This actually blows into the chamber to enhance the drying. So that's what it looks like on the back right there. We're going to walk back to the front now. Okay, so now we're back at the front of the system. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to open up this front area right here. A little easier when I have a key, but it's not needed. So we're going to pop this guy open. Oh, there you go. It just EMO'd. Oh, there's a little lock on here. Where is that lock? Or did I just not turn this guy all the way? There we go. Sorry about that. I thought there was an interlock, but I just didn't turn that switch all the way. So now we're looking into the chamber right here. So here we have the upper electronic controls. As you can see, this area has all been cleaned out and refurbished as well. Any wires that show degrading have been replaced, and overall it's really clean and nice up here. We also replaced this screen as new because the one that we had was damaged, and we replaced these water and drying temperature control units as well. So let's go ahead and close this up. And you saw that it EMO'd. That's because there's a switch right here that needs to be met. just make sure that the panel is down when you're running the system. Go ahead and tighten that up. We'll tighten that up further before shipment. Yeah, what you really need is just an Allen wrench key to more easily do this. But so anyways, we're coming down here to take a look underneath the system now as well. Here we have our air heater blower, we have our DI pump, we have our Magna Helix, we have our exhaust sensors. Both the air blower and the DI pump have been rebuilt. The Magna Helix have been tested, and so have the exhaust switches. They're calibrated here, but they'll likely need adjustment once the system is installed on site. Those adjustments are going to be made to fit the specific exhaust conditions that your fab has. Underneath here, we have the air heater. The air heater is going to be on the right side, and then that's going to pull air through and then come through a pre-filter followed by a HEPA filter, which then, as I talked about in the back, blows up into the chamber and down over the product. So you have HEPA filtered air right there to enhance the drying process and the overall heat of the chamber. One more item that we have down here is a key in the bottom left-hand corner. That key is going to be used to operate maintenance mode, which we will get into now. I'm going to get into some programming. So I'll go ahead and close up this door. And next I got to go back and turn the system back on because we EMO'd it. Alright, so the HTC 8020 system is a pretty straightforward system. We're going to go ahead and jump into the standard programming screens here. So to run a cycle, you simply press that cycle. Whether it's a normal cycle, a dry cycle, or a custom cycle, you'll press that button to initiate that program. To set the timers for these programs, you come into the timer settings screen, and you can set any timer. So first we have our DI heater idle timer. This timer is for how long the DI heater, the DI water heater, will sit in idle before turning off. Essentially, you want to keep the water hot so you're ready to run a process at any given time, but you don't want it sitting there heating water for a week if you don't run the system. So that's how long it's going to sit there heating before turning off. Next, we have a surfactant dispense timer. That's going to determine how long the surfactant pump operates to spike the wash reservoir with surfactant. We have the wash timer, which is how long the system is going to run the first wash step. Then we have the rinse timer, which is how long each rinse step is going to be. There's 3 rinse steps that follow the wash step. Then we have the dry timer. That's how long we're going to dry the chamber. So taking a look at all of our timers right here, we have 8 hours on DI heater idle timer. We have no surfactant dispense. It is filled with water to make sure that the interlock works on that, and we did test the motor. The 90-second wash timer, the 90-second rinse timer, and then we have a 45-minute dry timer. So this will give us completely dry and clean cassettes and boxes. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to turn that key that I talked about. And so now we're in maintenance mode. So in maintenance mode, you can manually operate different components of the system to check on its health and make sure that any component suspected of having an issue can be tested and verified for function. So just to give you an example, let's go ahead and lock the door. Now we're going to turn on the blower and open the dampener. And we're going to turn on the air heater. So right now we're blowing hot air into the chamber. So that's one way to verify that. You could also verify the DI fill, the drain valve, the DI spray, and the surfactant pump spike. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get wet into the chamber before we start running, but those all would operate as well. Let's take a look though at how you can check for operation with the door open. So here we have the chamber door open, and the system looks for this door switch to be met. So if I were to try to run an air knife zone, let's say zone 2, it's not going to operate because the door switch isn't met. So what we do is we push in the door switch and turn it to the side to lock it in place. And now if we take a look at this top spray bar, we'll operate zone 2. And there we go. So that's how you can check the air knives operation inside the chamber. So that gives you, like I said, the ability to test all the components, whether it's troubleshooting or in a PM schedule. I just went ahead and put the door switch back into the normally open position, and we'll go ahead and close the chamber door. So let's go ahead and turn this key back to process mode. I'm going to close this bottom chamber. And we're going to go ahead and run a run. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a normal dry cycle. First, I'll go ahead and show you. We have our customer's products on these two cassettes. Then we have additional cassettes that we included just to mock up a traditional, more traditional, washing condition in the fab. And that rack is ready. Then we have this rack over here, which is going to be the customer's 2 boxes, as well as a couple boxes that we've included on the back. Again, to mock up the washing that you're going to see in the fab. So we'll go ahead and close this up now. And run the process. So before we get going, I'm actually going to turn on these blowers because they're required to meet the exhaust requirements. It's going to get a little bit louder, but you should still be able to hear us okay. And normal cycle. And we're off. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a DI fill. So right now there's a 2-minute timer for the DI water to fill into the wash reservoir. It's not going to fill for the entire 2 minutes. There's a sensor that's going to let us know when the reservoir has been filled, and then the system will automatically progress to the next step. But if it's not filled within those 2 minutes, we know that there's a DI flow issue and the system will alarm. So now we're entering the wash cycle. So as we mentioned in the beginning, this is the wash cycle that has the surfactant spiked DI water mixture. This is going to be used to do the actual cleaning of your product in the chamber because we have the surfactant spiked in there. What you're going to see is that after the wash cycle, we're going to have 3 rinse cycles, and they're going to progress in the same fashion as the wash cycle, with the main difference being there's going to be no surfactant dispense. So in our demo circumstance, all 4 steps are going to be exactly the same because we're not spiking surfactant, but the overall function is still demonstrated. And so it's difficult for you to see, but I'm going to use my phone here to just light into the chamber. And there's heavy agitation, and the product looks good. There's heavy agitation and the product looks good. Okay, so now we're draining from the wash cycle. Now we're going to do rinse cycle number 1. So this is going to get a little bit repetitive. We're really just going to rinse the chamber 3 different times before we move into dry. So in addition to providing HTC refurbishments, Cytec also provides refurbished box washers from our stock. We also have 100% of the spare parts and services required for these systems. Whether you have a screen failure, you've lost your software, you have an issue with your high voltage power box, any of the spray arms or spray hubs have an issue, you need to replace a filter or a DI heater, a valve, magna helix, or an exhaust sensor, Cytec has 100% of the parts and services required to keep your HTC box washer system running. And that would be all systems, not just the HTC 8020, but the HTC 4000, H8000, 8010, 8020, which you see in front of you, and the 8030 system. All right, so now we're about halfway through rent cycle number 1. In addition to providing high-quality refurbished box washers, Cytec also provides a variety of other high-quality refurbished systems to the semiconductor marketplace. That would be spin rinse dryers, which we also specialize in with 100% of spare part and service support. That would be mask cleaners such as Ultra T and K&S and other brands. A variety of metrology tools such as mask cleaners, particle counters, ellipsometers, profilometers, thin film measurement tools, and a variety of others. Barrel, ash, and etch tools such as the Branson IPC series, microscopes, and several other systems that can all be found on our website. Our website is www.cytecprocess.com. That's spelled S-I-T-E-K. Okay, so now we are again going into the drain timer here, and then we're going to have 2 more rinse steps before we move into dry. And what we're going to do here is the dry cycle is 45 minutes long, and really it's just the air knives taking turns, oscillating back and forth, and having the airflow go through them to improve the whole drying process. So once rinse is done, we're going to see that the dry cycle has started, and then we're going to pause the video. We're going to bring the camera back online when there's a couple minutes left of the dry cycle, so that way we can see the system has finished without any errors, and so that way we can inspect the product inside and ensure that everything has dried and is working properly. Something else that you'll notice too when your box washer is running is that the water temperature is going to continue to rise and fall, and that's because the DI heater reservoir is going to continue to fill up with your house DI water, which will be colder, and so every time it does, this water temperature is going to drop, but then it will rise because during the rinse cycle the heating element is still active and is continuing to heat the DI water prior to the rinse reservoir being filled. Now we've moved into our rinse cycle number 3. Again, this is a 90-second rinse cycle. That will be followed by a 20-second drain, and then the drying step initiating. All right, so now while the rinse cycle number 3 is draining, you can see that there was a little bit of agitation inside the chamber. That is the air drying process getting started. So now we are in the dry cycle. We have 45 minutes of this. The air knife zones will take turns operating. You'll see that there's a dot or a square, a colored square above the air knife zone that's currently running. You see the blower is on and the air heater is on. So as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and pause the video at this time while the system dries. We'll turn it back on when we have a few minutes left, and we will conclude this video source inspection. We'll see you soon. That was fast! And we're back ready to finish up this dry cycle. So we have 45 seconds left remaining on the dry, and then we'll be able to open up the chamber and inspect the product and conclude this video source inspection. I also forgot to, at the end of this dry timer, there will be a cool down period. I can't remember exactly how long, it's 1 to 2 minutes, but that'll show up as well. That's the cool down period to kind of just let the tool sit after all this hot air being pulled through for so long. All right, down to 10 more seconds. Okay, so it's a 2-minute period. So now we have 2 minutes left of the cool down time, and then we can inspect the product and conclude this video source inspection. But other than that, everything's looking really good here. Everything on the back looks as expected. I'm also inspecting the door seal to ensure that there's no leaks and everything is completely dry. So great. This looks like it's going to be a successful run. You'll see here that the water temp's been sitting at temp for a while now because the system hasn't been running the rinse. So the water's had a chance to sit in the DI reservoir and heat up. So it's sitting at temperature. So on the next run, when you run it, like I said, you'd have hot water, you'd be ready to go. You'll see that the drying temp is slowly falling here. That's during the cool down period. So we've stopped sending power to the heater, but the blower and the dampener, the exhaust dampeners are still open, and the blower is still running to keep cooling down the system. So now process cycle complete. We're going to press reset. Now we're able to open the chamber. Woo, it's a little warm in here. So first I'm going to take out this this box rack. Pulling out the first box here. And this guy looks really good. It's nice and warm right now. It's not going to burn me, but it's definitely hot. So that's the first one. Yeah, if you can get around here so you can kind of take a better look. All of these items are completely dry and looking good. So that's great. And then now I'll take a look at the cassette rack. The rack itself is pretty warm. Like I said, it's not going to burn me, but you can tell it's just finished with the dry cycle. Go ahead and take this guy off. Perfectly dry. And taking a look at the rest of the cassettes, everything else is completely dry. Looking in the chamber, no water. So this was a successful run of the HTC system. Actually, and while we're here, you can take a look back there. That is the exhaust dampener that I was talking about. That opens so that way the blower can, so the exhaust can pull through and the blower can force air out of the chamber. The blower itself blows through a top access point, and it blows hot air down over the entire chamber, where these air knives then are going to have more pressurized air that's going to actually knock water off. So these air knives knock water off, and the air dryer itself provides heat over the entire process. All right, so I'd like to thank you for taking the time to view our video source inspection for today. Again, my name is Daniel Mullany, and behind the camera was Caitlin Yates. We filmed this source inspection for SciTech Process Solutions. It's a fully refurbished HTC 8020 system. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our website at www.scitechprocess.com.